safe area.
Let me get started by saying I love The Division. In this video, I will do my best to create a timeline from the beginning of The Division 1 to 2, to new and old agents, and all my opinions that have happened since. When I first came across The Division, I accidentally came across it because of my brother-in-law. He showed me the E3 footage and was saying how the game will not look like this when it releases, but it still looks really good. At the time, I didn't know that this was called a looter shooter. So when the game finally came around, without watching any YouTube videos or reading any articles or even trying the beta, I had just recently sold my property and had a few months off of work to play this game. I had never played a looter shooter in my lifetime, and that is since around SNES. I'm 28 years old, and I've never heard of one either. So I pop in the disc on my PS4 and start playing. I instantly fall in love with the mechanics of this game. Something as simple as running, shooting, and enjoying the open world that Ubisoft had created. And they're known for making some incredible worlds. This game had not yet become competitive for me. As everyone knows, the 1 through 30 leveling experience was and still is an absolute amazing time well spent. And I spent plenty of time and enjoyed this much longer than anyone else I could think of, friends or even content creators. I never would have imagined I would have over 4,000 hours on this game by the release of The Division 2. This is also the time where I stopped asking my wife why she likes YouTube so much, and got on it to watch The Division videos daily. As well, I also joined The Division subreddit, and this became a daily read and watch scenario for me, which I continue mostly to this day. While I was on Reddit since 2012, I barely ever went into it. Now, not only do I use it daily for the Division 2 content, but I'm subscribed to around 50 other subreddits, which is a good chunk of them I personally enjoy seeing on my front page every morning, instead of the news, especially in this hostile and crazy political landscape, which I cannot even express on YouTube, for certain death would await my channel. I mean, wow, you cannot even curse on YouTube anymore without quite the penalties. But I do enjoy the professionalism of writing a script for a video and expressing my thoughts through a flexible, ad-lib, script-like way. Anyway, back to The Division 1 and when the endgame hit me. This is when Falcon Lost was born. And man, oh man, this was a punishing, not difficult, but punishing incursion. This was a major problem, and I couldn't even matchmake without the groups doing the old cheese of killing the tank with skills and a few other exploitable ways. This is also when I heavily involved in everyday Reddit and YouTube Division videos, and it was everywhere. You absolutely had to have Sentry, until it was nerfed several months later. They took longer back then to fix these hot fixes. And I wouldn't even say it was nerfed, it was corrected. The other gear sets, Striker, Nomad, Tactician, and I believe Hunter's Faith, were not even close to as good as Sentry. Stacking headshots with an automatic weapon? I mean, come on. This is the meta build you have to have. I did, unfortunately, fall prey to cheesing this incursion, and honestly later on, found it actually more enjoyable than the actual incursion itself, funny enough. And at this point in the news cycle, or near this time frame, The Division 1 was basically dead to the outside world, besides the fans and us agents that stayed with it, and newcomers later on, when 1.4 patch came around, which balanced out the loot system and bullet sponginess that ultimately was a major game changer to the entire fundamental structure of the game. And I myself, a solo player almost entirely, welcome this with open arms, hugs, and kisses. I say mostly solo player because I never really had played an online game before. An online only game, or these so-called games of service, and wasn't very keen on playing with others or talking either. I'm a sociable person, but when I play video games, I love the single player experience. I loved and still love the solo experience and immersion and fun that comes with it. But with the release of The Division 2, I became much more sociable and friendly online. to almost never doing solo missions, raids, so on and so forth anymore, unless I want the unique challenge it brings, or I'm just in the mood to play by myself. So Underground came out, and this was a major game changer for me. Not that it was good or anything, quite the opposite. It wasn't that amazing at all. It was worth it to get the outfit at the rank 40 Underground level, but that was about it. No, it was a major game changer for me because at this point, I was deadly hooked on the game, and PC and Xbox were getting the DLC first, which I never condone whatsoever. I believe that exclusivity is just wrong. We should all get these DLCs evenly and fairly. No exclusive deals on DLCs. So I decided to go down to my local PC shop, tell them I want to play the Division 1 on PC on ultra settings with 60 frames per second or more, and just build it. Surprisingly, it wasn't that expensive. Roughly maybe $1,500 and I was set, along with a gaming mouse and mechanical keyboard, which I had heard in the background of videos like Wids or Marco Style. This was also such a game changer because I hadn't played the Division 1 on PC yet, and haven't played any game on PC since I was younger, playing Age of Empires and Warcraft 3, Frozen Throne, and so on, and StarCraft of course. And man was I impressed. This is why all my favorite YouTubers played on PC. Marco Style, Skill Up, Gumpenstein, Breezy Peasy, Gamey Daddy, and so on were on PC. Well, I believe Gamey Daddy was on Xbox or PS4, but moved to PC as well. Not to mention the game just plays so much better on a keyboard and mouse. I believe it's made for it. So by the time I set up my PC and got it up and running, and had the Division 1 installed and ready to play on it, Survival came out. So luckily, this was the standout, hands down, best DLC this game had to offer. This is what a lot of people thought this game was going to be about. A survival mechanic, similar maybe to the older Ghost Recon games. You start out with nothing but a pistol, and make your way through New York streets in a freezing blizzard. Because the Division law states helicopters must always crash. You gear up and gather materials to craft weapons and gear as you make your way to the Dark Zone. Once at the Dark Zone, you still do the same thing, but at this point, you most likely have enough clothes to not ever freeze, decent gear to fight the hunters, and so on. But you needed to gather Division tech, or the antivirals and some golden crafting parts to craft some great gear and or weapons before you could face these wonderful new additions to the Division. Hunters. Hunters were and still are just so amazing in every possible way. They're almost like playing against another player, but obviously an NPC. This is the end of part 1 of my series, but unfortunately, as all you agents have probably heard already, I'm sure you have, Survival will never make it to the Division 2. At least we know for the year 1. This is terrible news. The creators at Massive, all the developers, everyone over there, they understand what the community wants. And they understand that I would say over 90% of the Division agents wanted Survival to also be included in the Division 2. It's just so sad to see. I mean, it's great that there'll be new content, and hopefully it could be something better than Survival, but Survival has already been established as an absolute wonderful addition to this game, at least to the first one. Now, walking around Washington, D.C. with a blizzard would be amazing. Or even just adding a survival element that's separate from the main game would have been amazing. Although this was only on a mostly gameplay only Twitch stream the other day, I believe this to be entirely 100% true. And honestly, I knew this was gonna happen. I actually figured this was gonna happen maybe a month or before the Division 2 was released. Regardless of what nearly the entirety of the community wanted since day one, and even before the game came out, we assumed survival would be a part of it. Hands down, the best DLC from the Division 1 is now being scrapped from the Division 2. This game has started going downhill in many ways. In the next few parts of this series and other videos, I will explain why. I have a lot to talk about. Thank you for listening, agents.